guys, welcome back to the Noodle Bowl. Clockwork Dandy Noodles here for another breakdown of episode 11, Shadow's House, season 2. There's one episode left. Who knows if we're going to get a season 3? If we do, I am totally going to be watching it because I am in love with this anime. This anime has been absolutely amazing. Episode 11 was info dump that we really needed. Before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed. In about 2 weeks' time, you're going to get 2 videos. First is my top 3 anime of this season. What is my favourite anime? What am I crowning? Is Shadow's House going to make that list? Afterwards, I'm going to bring you my full 2022 breakdown. I tell you what I'm breaking down next season, what is coming our way. Very happy to be breaking those down with you guys, and hopefully you guys will find something interesting to watch next season as well. It's going to be a very big season for anime, and I really can't wait. Let's jump straight to it, because Shadow's House has a dungeon. They seem prepared for the odd rebellion or two, but there's no night watch. So Shadow's House is prepared to lock people up, misbehave, or something like this happens, but they still don't have a night watch in case stuff does go down. And I guess that also means that they're not expecting things to come into the house, because we don't know enough about the world outside of the walls. I did think Kate's nightcap was a little bit on the garish side, but it does spare her white pillow from the soot of her hair. However, when we see John snoring his head away, he hasn't got a nightcap on, and he's definitely ruining his pillows mercilessly. An interesting look into the bedding situation if you're a shadow, because you just seem to emit a lot of soot. So if you have a very bad dream, your bed is going to be completely wrecked. Told the title of the passageway that leads to the adult house, the main house itself, is called the Passageway of Glory. Hyping up the idea being called across, becoming an adult really is the end goal for everybody. However, it really is just lies covering up the fact that the humans who go across will never come back. They end up dying. It is a house of death. Starbearer medals this week, and I don't think up until this point we've ever seen one worn. It would make sense that Barbara isn't really wearing hers because she never really felt like she deserved it. She felt like she was always in the shadow, literally, of Christopher, because Christopher was shown even at the beginning of this season as somebody amazing. People look to her as being inferior to him. But I did like the size of the bedroom that she gets. She gets a very big room. This week, we are looking at the ending of Mary Rose and Rosemary. With the ending, we are accompanied by a big flashback. And it's this flashback which pretty much gives us all of the answers. There was a promise between Mary Rose and Barbara to become adults together. So when she does state that, I'm sorry to have broken your promise, because Mary Rose knows that she's not going to become an adult. I did wonder as well if the reason they were calling them across to the adult's house is A, torture, but I also wondered if they would try and force merge them, to shove them in the box and hope for the best and see what happens in 2 weeks, knowing that she would die anyway. Did wonder if that was actually the true punishment that was awaiting them. We get to spend some time with my favourite character, who never really shows up this season, and for good reason, because we do get to find out the sad truth of what actually happens to him. We do see him having quite a great friendship with Mary Rose. Debatable whether she liked him or not, because also we don't know if Barbie likes him. So everybody seems to have a bit of a crush on Christopher. I don't really blame you. He is a very beautiful face. Debate whether Christopher is still alive as a veiled doll, but we don't really know. We also get another look at the less jaded, troubled Barbie. Proper happy smile going on. Obviously, she's been through a lot. She's seen a lot. She does know about the fusion thing, so she's carrying a lot on her shoulders. During this flashback, we see how revolutionary Christopher really was. He wanted to teach all of the shadows and the kids living in the house to help them pass into adulthood. A glimpse of young Edward as well, and he's a more traditionalist. He believes that you should focus on bettering yourself, ignore the people who are deemed to fail. You shouldn't really concern yourself with them. However, we do get to see why Christopher was admired by everybody. The reason that he's able to win over even Edward, that you're brilliant, I need your help, please help us here, it's going to benefit the house. We see the way that he's able to convince him to go along with his ideas. We do also get a look at how short Barbara really is. Either that or Christopher is very, very tall. Is she shorter than Kate? She might be shorter than Kate, and I still think Kate is pretty short. Sadly, lacking height on her side of things. Flashback to show us the extent of the popularity of Christopher, how he was highly revered. Everybody really enjoyed him. He was able to really improve the life of the children's ward. And this probably in the history of the Shadows house is the happiest term for all the kids. Anybody living there during Christopher's reign really did have the happiest period because he was trying to coach everybody. A section where Barbara is trying to work out whether Mary Rose likes Christopher, but actually she's trying to deny the fact that she might like Christopher. We also get a cool glimpse into how Christopher viewed the idea of a shadow and a human. He seems to be more on the boat where he would like to think of them as separate, so you shouldn't have the same characteristics. He tries to coach Barbara and Barbie separately, so Barbara isn't the one who needs to run around because she produces so much soot. Barbie is full of energy. He's able to coach both of them very, very differently. We even get a fun glimpse of Ben before he turned into a gym buff, struggling when it comes to running around, which is so weird because we know what he turns into. We've seen that guy buff as hell, topless, maybe being spurred into action by Christopher, who ended up telling everybody to do sports. So maybe this is what actually led Ben to become the buff that he really is. I also thought Barbie with the pigtails was absolutely adorable. It really suits her. I really like it. Christopher is the only Starbearer I think that we've seen wearing his Starbearer medal. And if I have seen the other guys wearing it, I don't recall it. But Christopher is one who would wear it proudly. Edward gets his foot stamped on by somebody, and I didn't catch who it was, but it was hilarious seeing him getting beaten up by someone. Good times always seem to come to an end, and we now get to see exactly why things went downhill. No longer a happy place in the children's ward. That Christopher had been summoned to the grandfather's ward, and Mary Rose seemingly had no desire to grow up anymore, because obviously this is the point when she realised the truth. But from Barbara's perspective, who didn't know anything, she just sees Mary Rose losing all of her drive to do anything, is when she gave up on her. She stopped being so close to her. Harsh reality even with Barbie is that she ends up getting so stressed she hurts her own face. When they get called across, see the current warden, that was Thomas. Thomas says that she can't grow up with the face having a wound. Don't quite know why that would be the case. If your face has a wound, you wouldn't be able to fuse. Trying to think of why having a mark on the face would be seen as bad, but it might just be I need a bit more information on this section just yet, and I don't fully understand the fusion. Barbie does know the fusion process, and she sees it firsthand. The roles of the Starbearers change, and obviously we know exactly what's happened to Christopher. By this point, nobody does know what's happened, so they just presume that Christopher is over in the adult's house as an adult. Edward is obviously the one who gets the role. Barbara, a bit later on, yelling at him, saying that it should be Christopher because she obviously doesn't know the fate that's befallen him. To her, it just seems somehow Edward has overtaken somebody who deserves it way better. But at this point, we see that Starbearers remain as educators, so they keep that role. It became not necessary to become a Starbearer to be invited across to the house. You don't have to be a Starbearer to be granted adulthood. Normally, for some reason, it seems that if you do cut your face or something bad happens to your face, you are disposed of. That's it. It's scary to think that you could just trip down the stairs by accident, be very, very clumsy, smack your face, scar yourself, and that's it. Your Shadow Master's disposed of. Barbara is thankfully cut a deal that allows her to not be disposed of and continue her role. Back to the real time where we are handing over Mary Rose and Rosemary to Edward. When we only have these three walking across the bridge, these are the three who know the truth about what happened to Christopher. This is when we get the flashback that gives us all the information on what happens to Christopher. Clever, because up until that point, Barbara was there. Barbara doesn't know what happens to Christopher, so in that flashback, we're still going, oh, he's an adult. We don't know what happened to him. He's just gone across. He's grown up. But when we get rid of Barbara, those three know exactly what happened to Christopher, because naturally Edward would have grown up, seen that there was no Christopher, and able to put two and two together. So he knows that Christopher doesn't exist in the house. What happened is something that I feared would be the case once you know the truth. Didn't affect them. They were happy to continue. We see Christopher still achieving absolutely everything, even if he knew the truth of them being two separate people. That also explains why he had different views, the fact that humans and shadows were individuals. Before he finds out the ultimate truth of fusion, he's able to continue working towards the goal of the house. And I think even with Rosemary, she says, I don't want to create a rebellion because living here is fine. So at this point, they don't know the horrors of what awaits them in the big house. Even with his brainwash broken, is able to fulfill his role absolutely fine. It's just the addition of knowing about fusion. That is the knowledge, the truth of fusion ends up killing Christopher. He ends up taking his own life, probably because he didn't want to fuse with Anthony, and he loved Anthony enough to not want to kill him. He ends up leaving a broken Anthony behind, and I do wonder if he's a veiled doll, or did he get murdered because he knows too much and he's actually witnessed going across to the other house? Is it possible that he's just been removed completely? I would actually love it if he was just a veiled doll and we could maybe get him back at some point, but sadly I don't think that's going to be the case. Mary Rose never told anybody. She told nobody in the house about what happened to Christopher or the fusion aspect. She decides that she can't trust anybody. That's when she ends up keeping it all to herself. She even keeps Barbara out of it, ends up creating that big rift between the two. Edward knows that Christopher doesn't live in the main house. That is why it's very clever that this flashback only occurs when these three characters are on the bridge together. The ending. I knew it was going to end bad, and I did think she was just going to run out the door and jump off that big cliff. It ends up being a much more spectacular way out. It's an ending out her own hands. She takes fate into her own hands and they end together. I love the fact that they hold on to each other and they just drop one, if it's possible that they could still have survived the fall, maybe with the soot powers or something. I haven't seen the body, therefore I don't believe they're dead. It's possible that we're going to see these two later, way down the line, maybe. Maybe there's a chance because she's holding on to her that they might survive the fall. Maybe that's just me trying to be hopeful that we can have them back at some point. Maybe participate later in a big rebellion when the house does go down. But for now, they are gone. Edward is, of course, now fudged because the death happened on his side of the house. Tried to reach to stop him, but I was like, dude, you are nowhere near them. You are not catching those two. Might have issues now because they're going to see him as being useless. You let these two jump away. They were defective elements that want to take down the house, ruin the order, and you've let them go. You let them on your watch go. We do get some more information about Edward's skills this week, about him being able to vibrate the air. The fact that he was seen playing the piano in the first season I thought was perfect because he essentially can use music with his own skills, which is very, very clever. But the big question is, now what? Kate has just seen everything. The Starbearers have witnessed everything, whether they were talking loud enough about Christopher. Barbara was also there looking out the window where Mary Rose and Rosemary fell out. She was near Edward. Isn't there a possibility that maybe she overheard? But I don't know what it's going to mean for the house. It's probably just going to mean they're going to throw one big rejoicing party to try and douse them in coffee or something. One hell of an ending for two fantastic characters. In my heart of hearts, I think they're still alive somewhere. A lot of things are going to change. We've got one episode left. I did wonder if the cliffhanger this season would be them killing themselves. We've still got an episode. Probably going to be the aftermath of losing Mary Rose and Rosemary. We will have to see what happens next week. Regretted not breaking season 1 down on my channel, and if there is a season 3, I am totally there. Sign me up. I'm going to break it down on the channel. I'm already waiting for it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I can't wait to see you next week for one last time. In the last video, I will give you my score out of 10 and my final thoughts. Thank you so much. Bye bye.